Hello, everyone. So, I welcome you all to our free foundation course, Sociology Uncomplicated series. As the name suggests, everything that I will teach will be extremely uncomplicated. That is, you will be able to understand it clearly. In this lecture, we will study another stalwart of sociology, that is Max Weber. We had studied about Karl Marx, right? Then we have studied about Durkheim. Now, this lecture, I will first do a comparative analysis so that you will understand what you're going to read in this entire lecture. Now let's understand. If there is a family, there is a family. If someone is analyzing the family just based on economic situation, they are poor, that's why they are not able to have good education. They are poor, that's why they are not politically empowered. They are poor, that's why they have social disabilities. So that person will be Karl Marx. Now let's look at another person, the second person. This person will focus on families, bonding, tradition, cultural values to understand the situation of family. So, if in a family there is a weak social bond, second person will say because of weak social bond, they are economically also poor. They have less empowerment. So the second person will focus more on the traditions and values and rules instead of economic situation. The second person is Durkheim. Now there will be entry of a third person who will change the entire perspective of understanding social phenomena. He's the person who will change the sociology. Sociology, which was studied purely based on either conflict perspective or from the perspective of order, that is functionalism. He will say we need to look at something even more important. So he will say let's analyze family in a manner how they behave, how they act, how they are acting, how they are behaving, and why they are acting and why they are behaving in a particular manner. So this third person is more and more concerned about the action taken by family that will decide their fate economically, socially, and politically. From here, there will be entry of a very important theory in sociology, that is social action, which will be later picked up by another functionalist as well, Talcott Parsons. We will study about Talcott Parsons in upcoming lectures. But before that, let's understand what Weber wanted to say. So, Weber was someone who focused on interpretation. Interpretation, if you are touching feet of your elder, why you are doing so? What is making you do so? If you are trying to top the examination, why are you doing so? What is the reason behind it? What is the motive behind it? Max Weber was very much concentrated about it. He's not discarding entirely the use of science. That is his beauty. He's standing in between. He's standing in between of the positivist and non-positivist. How so? Now, previously, it was understood like just like science is seeing society like a chemical formula, trying to make a theory of entire society. That was the main point of concern for sociology, sociological findings, which we call as functionalist or positivist. Now, Weber say, why not? We can understand the human action, the motive behind any action, and still be scientific. We can have scientific process. We can still be objective. How so? He gave a middle ground. So the middle ground was that we can have understanding and explanation. We will use scientific methods. But how it will be different from functionalist? Functionalist will say you have to use scientific method and you can never use values. Weber will say we are living in a society. We are human beings. How can how can we totally discard value and in entirety? What we are studying will be also influenced by values. So if I'm a sociologist and I'm trying to study about education system, it is my value that is making me study education system. Maybe because I come from a background where education system was not that good, or my societal setting makes me value education. Like when Max Weber had to study, Max Weber chose to study what? Bureaucracy. Now, bureaucracy was very much strong in the German society and very much respected in the German society. That is why he chose to study bureaucracy. But after you have used your value, acknowledged your value, you are not discarding it completely. We will try to use scientific methods and processes. So it's not completely discarding scientific methods and process. He's saying, yes, we will use the understanding of human actions as well, and we will use scientific methods as well without discarding values. He's not that radical. That is why I said he can be categorized rather as a middle ground between positivist and non-positivist. So he's in between the both these trends. Once we'll finish Weber, we'll also now see more about non-positivist scholars as well, and then you will understand it, how they were more radical. We had studied about non-positivism, phenomenology, ethnomethodology in the previous lectures as well in the foundation course. Now let's understand what is social action in a very simple way, so that you all can understand it. So if you are sneezing in classroom, is that a social action according to Max Weber? It is not. It is your body, it is just your body is reacting. So no thinking is involved, no consciousness is involved. So this is not social action. You are scratching your head when you are alone. It is again not a social action. But if you are joining any protest against paper leak, it is a social action. Because you are trying to affect the system which is prevalent. There is consciousness. So what Max Weber said about a social action is that when a person is attaching subjective meaning, and when an action is oriented towards the behavior of other, then only it is social action. So if you're subjective, you're not attaching subjective meaning, you are not orienting your action towards other, it is not social action. This is the basic understanding that you need to keep in mind when we will study social action. So it is a sum total of what you are doing plus why you did it in your own mind. There will be a process. If you are studying sociology, there is a reason behind it. Then when you are doing anything, like you want to become a civil servant, there is some thinking about other people as well, how you want to make a change or you want to prove a point. There can be any orientation. That is when you make a sum total of all these three, then it becomes a social action. It is very, very important concept. And then Max Weber not simply just talked about social action, he also talked about the types of social action. So mainly he gave 4 types of social action. Okay. So the first was traditional. This is a very common type of social action that you all do without having any reasoning or rational. We are doing it. Why we are doing it? Because parampara, riti, rewaz. So there is no rationality. So that is called as traditional action. You are performing a ritual simply. There is no rationality behind it. You are doing so because your father did it, your grandfather did it. Huh? So it is going on since a very long time. That is called as traditional action. The second one is your effective action. If a cine star is coming and you are trying to have a picture with that cine star, if your favorite cricket team is winning a match, you are on the roads. That is effective action, led by emotions. rather than by calculation or tradition. Then he gave another two types of action. One was word rational action, and second was Jewish rational action. Now, how they are different? Word rational action is guided by your value and morality. So if you are going in any examination hall and you are making a conscious decision that I will not resort to any type of cheating, even if all the classroom is indulged in it, that is purely because of your morality and value. If your action is purely driven by morality and value, that is word rational action. And the Jewish rational action is different. It is driven by results. How can I get best result? How can I get best marks in sociology? What is the best resource? Where are the best lectures? Where can I master this subject? This is Jewish rational action. Here you are applying all rationality. What is the best way forward? If I have 4 types of notes, I will choose one which will help me to become a civil servant. This is Jewish rational action. That is based on rationality. Now, in totality, if you see in example, a human being is actually doing multiple types of actions together. Okay. So in real life, you will see a person acting with rationality as well, acting with emotion as well, acting with tradition as well. So you will see a sum total in real life. Okay. Now, another very important concept was given by Max Weber, and in present society, you can use it very well. He said that why the society in general is now moving towards becoming like a calculator. Why I'm using this word calculator consciously? You all are doing one thing constantly every day. That is comparison, comparing opinions, comparing reviews, comparing comments, comparing revenues, comparing everything. So why we are moving towards becoming a calculator? Why society is moving towards Jewish rational action? Previously, it was traditional. If you see your grandfather, they were more bothered about taking actions which will satisfy society. And society is satisfied by order and continuity, not discontinuity. Society will always want you to fall in the line. So their actions were rather more and more oriented towards traditional action. But now you see more and more people are moving towards Jewish rational action. They are more bothered about their own happiness, their own success. And for that, they are calculating what is best for me. When you came for this examination as well, you must have calculated, okay, these are my options. These are my talents. These are the means available. These are the rewards available. And then you choose this particular action. In this society, now we want everything very predictable and efficient. So why now McDonald's became very famous? Because when you go to McDonald's in Mumbai or in Bengaluru, you will get a predictable and effective service, a similar kind of a burger, a similar kind of a taste. That is why people are readily going to such outlets where they can get predictable outcomes, where there is not too much diversity. There is another term related to it, which is called as a McDonaldization of culture. Now, what is McDonaldization of culture? That is just, the society is increasingly becoming very similar and rational and common. Let me give you a very simple example. Previously, when houses were built, they were very different. Their colors were very different. Their architecture was very different. Their even doors were very different. Their windows were very different. Now you go to any city, you will find 99% of the houses having similar kinds of architecture, similar kinds of doors, similar kinds of even whitewash, similar kinds of interior. So that differentiation is decreasing. It is increasingly becoming more and more predictable. The society is increasingly moving towards specialization. Previously, when your grandfathers were there, they could do a little bit of many things. They were jack of all, master of none. But now the society has flipped. There is more and more demand of person who can be master of a particular thing. So now society is moving. Society is being more and more rational. And you can apply this theory to every social system. You can apply in law. Previously, the law were more and more based on traditions. Women were not allowed to take divorce. There were cases where a woman had to forcefully marry rapist. Now it is becoming more and more just, rational, and there is a hidden humanism behind it. The law, the legal decisions are also taken by specialists. Here, there is no one king who will decide everything. He will decide your economy, he will decide your polity, he will decide your justice delivery. In a democracy, the legal procedures will be dealt by a specialist, jurist, advocates. And that is why there is a concept of separation of power. That's very, very important ingredient of modern democracies. Formal rules, you see written regulations instead of dictums. Where if you have read the history, in the medieval history, there were rulers like Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and he was ready to give dictums, which was called as Tughlaqi Farman. So he was issuing Farman left, right, and center. He was not much bothered about formal rules and regulations. You must have read another concept, which is called the ease of doing business. Now, ease of doing business, how we can ensure that there is ease of doing business? If there is a predictable laws, if there are rational laws, if there is more trust-based governance, like Jan Viswas bills, that will ensure ease of doing business. Compliances are done with ease. There is trust-based governance rather than license Raj. That will ensure ease of doing business. So in our law as well, legal system as well, you will see rationalization processes going on. Okay. He had also talked about various kinds of authority based on it. He talked about the traditional authorities. If you see traditional authorities were mainly people, they were attracting authority because of tradition. A person in your family who is the eldest will demand authority, will demand respect from others, compliance from others, not because he had superior quality, not because he had any kind of expertise on what your actions are, but just because he's, according to tradition, an elder person will be head of the family. That is traditional authority. Legal rational authority, which we are talking about, rationalization of authority, where there are written rules, where there are specializations, where there are predictability, effectiveness. So if you see the bureaucrats, they are part of legal rational authority. In bureaucracy, we have rules, regulations. Bureaucrats are rule bound. They are working under the ambit of law. They are not above law. Then we also have another very important thing, that is charismatic authority. And he gave a lot of importance to it. He said that, yes, we have legal rational authority, but you must have seen all the problems that a bureaucracy faces. Bureaucracy is much and too much bothered about written rules. So much so that even the ends are getting displaced. No, in Hindi we say lal fita sai, in English we say red tapeism. There's a famous saying by about the neighborhood first policy that India promises, China delivers. Now, this is a direct criticism of bureaucracy. It is too slow to act. It is moving like a snail pace. It is just caged in the iron cage of rationality. Now, society, if have to come out of this, there is only one way out. That is charismatic authority. A person with charisma. You must have seen reels of people like Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, or to an extent Mahatma Gandhi. They were all part of charismatic authority. They are not ruling because of tradition. People were not behind Mahatma Gandhi because he was a prime minister, or he was having some kind of a traditional importance. People were attracted to Mahatma Gandhi because of his attributes, his thoughts, and his actions, his charisma. So these charismatic people bring revolution in the nation, bring revolution in the humanity. And then charisma also becomes routinized. That will, like Mahatma Gandhi, what he did for the nation, it also again become the part of your constitution, like Panchayati Raj. His thought will again be routinized. So this cycle will go on and on. But Max Weber gave too much importance to bureaucracy. So we were talking about how Max Weber also wanted to make the sociological study scientific, and for that he gave a tool which is called as Verstehen. Now, what is Verstehen? It is a German word. It simply means understanding, nothing else. It is a German word which simply means understanding. So understanding what's going on inside your head, not just watching what you are doing, is the crux of Verstehen. Like You are a student in a school. You are giving 100 rupees because your parents told that it is your religious duty. Or you are giving 100 rupees because you want to prove that you are a very kind and generous person. Now, you are giving money quietly because you want you want genuinely to help others, not to show off. Not you are doing because religion had said that. That is just purely based on your own act of trying to uplift other person. Okay. So that why, understanding why you are doing so is Verstehen. So it is interpretation of your social action. Verstehen does not mean feel exactly what they feel. If you are becoming that person, it means understanding their reason clearly. It's not just feeling, understanding deeply. It's not just superficial understanding. The first thing which under Verstehen you will try to understand is actor's motive. Why you are doing so, your intention behind any action, and the surrounding context. You have to precisely understand it. Verstehen is not emotional identification with the actor. Sociologist, if you are a sociologist, you need not feel what an actor is feeling emotionally. You have to understand analytically with a distance how the actor's frame of reference, while still maintaining the critical, comparative eye of a social scientist. You are not becoming overboard with the emotions. That is why I said that is a middle ground. And then he gave again two levels of rather Verstehen. So the first is actualist Verstehen. That is, I can see what is happening. So, like if you see a classmate is crying, you immediately understand without needing to think hard that they are crying. That's a surface level understanding. The second is Atlantis Verstehen. That is, I understand why it is happening. So now you are asking why you are crying. Why are they crying? Did they fail in any examination? Did they have a fight with a friend? Is something wrong at a home? So you are digging deep into the real cause. This is the harder level or the second level of Verstehen. So there are two forms of Verstehen. Now, as I told you, he used this tool to make the subject scientific, yet we are not totally discarding the value. Value can interfere if I am choosing what to study. I am not totally discarding it. Now, a fair question is if sociology is about understanding people's feelings, doesn't it make it a guesswork? You all will question it. Not a real science, what you studied in the previous lectures about Durkheim and all the postulates that we were trying to grasp. Weber answer is both. You start by genuinely trying to understand the person's own reason, the soft part. But then, like a detective, you build a careful, logical, evidence-based argument on top of that. That is the hard part. So you don't just stop at, I think, I understand them. You go on to prove your understanding with solid reasoning. So you are understanding the person's reason plus careful and logical argument you are providing. This is how Weber wanted to make a sociological understanding objective. So value relevance will be there. Why would a researcher choose to study a particular thing? Value freedom. Staying fair once you have started. You have to be disciplined. Once you have chosen a subject, chosen a topic, now you have to be disciplined. This is what Max Weber said. Your personal values can decide what you study. They should never be allowed to decide what answer you find. What answer you are finding should not decide that. I hope you understood this. Okay. Another thing, it is ideal type. Just understand ideal student. Can anybody be ideal student? It's a very subjective thing. Like you are saying a good student. It's a very subjective thing. By listing out some qualities, okay, marks, quality, how she behaves, discipline. But can anybody satisfy that? Everything. You can satisfy one or two parameters. Can everybody satisfy that? Can anybody satisfy that? Everybody is a very far-flung thing. And we can define a good student with a number of parameters. So instead, what you can do is you can build one imaginary picture in your head. A good student studies daily, respect teachers, help classmates, and manages time well. This is imaginary understanding that you are making. This imaginary picture isn't a real person. No student can match it 100%, but it is useful because now we can compare any real student against this picture and ask one question: how close or far is this person from the ideal? That is why Max Weber called it a heuristic device. That is a purposeful exaggeration. No institutions can be that. But it is very important for comparative analysis. That is why he gave ideal types, which was a mental construct. It is your mental construct. It is not the reality. I hope you understood the concept of ideal type. Okay. And ideal doesn't mean morally ideal. Don't confuse it. It's not like morally what is the best way to be. It is not a value judgment at all. It is not a perfect goal everyone should try to reach. Neither Weber tried to say that. And it is not calculated by averaging all the students' quality together. It is just a sharp comparison tool. Like a ruler you use to measure real things. Okay, you are a manager. You can make some chart out some features of an ideal employee. So pick important features inside your mind and then just build it. It is a purposeful exaggeration. Now, why this ideal type was used? This will be the next question. Okay, why this ideal type was used? So Weber used this tool to build an imaginary comparison picture in 4 different situations. Like for specific historical event, if I have to analyze modern capitalism as it developed specifically in Europe at a specific time, I can use that. For something which is repeating across many time periods, like bureaucracy, it has existed in ancient China, in ancient Rome, and modern India as well. It can be also used for analyzing Duke rational action of any person, smart calculation. Okay. And to analyze even the types of authority and use this particular method more and more to analyze again the most important organization at that time in German society, bureaucracy. That became the most famous one. And not only this, even Indian scholars use this approach. You see Louis Dumo, when you will study sociology paper 2, he also sketched up a mental construct. M.N. Srinivas, he also made a mental construct of dominant caste, combining land ownership, large population, political power. Dipankar Gupta, then he gave a concept of discrete caste and middle hierarchy. So that all we will study in the paper 2. I'm just giving reference for people who have completed sociology optional ones, so they can just relate it. Okay. Now, another concept which is important, we talked about different types of authority, but one very important concept that we will read later on as well, that is power. According to Weber, what is power? There is another thing which we will try to understand, power as a zero-sum game. When we will study Talcott Parsons, then I will teach you in a comparative way. Then you will understand it in a better manner. Okay, power is a zero-sum game, or power is not a zero-sum game. It is a variable sub-game. Now, that we will understand when we will study the Talcott Parsons as well. Okay. There is another term which he touched upon was coercion. So the bully is forcing the lunch out of you. You are obeying purely because you are scared, not because you think the bully has any right to take your lunch. Authority is, imagine a class monitor is asking everyone to sit down and be quiet when the teacher steps out. Now, most students obey, not out of fear, but because they are accepting that the monitor has been given the right to keep order. Now, that's authority. Power that people accept as fair and legitimate. That is derived out of a rule or regulation. When people accept your right to command them, power becomes authority. In the modern day, politicians or in a bureaucrat, or if you are working in a company or manager, these are example of the same. Okay. So then we had explained about the different types of authority previously as well, about tradition, chalta hai, this is how it is. Charismatic, because and charisma often na, you will see during the time period of crisis. So I give the example of Mahatma Gandhi. It emerged when India was in the cycles of colonialism. And it can generate rapid social change. How Gandhiji now led a rapid social change is a very beautiful example. Okay. And it is not out of any rules, it is not out of any regulation. It depends entirely upon followers' continued faith in something superior in the charismatic leader. And as I told you previously, since charismatic authority is so personal and it is unstable, it cannot indefinitely remain dependent purely on one leader's individual qualities. So it needs to survive. What if the leaders eventually die or decline to become a lasting institutions? So then it will be routinized. The charismatic authority may gradually become a traditional if succession becomes hereditary. If succession becomes codified and rule-based or formal, it will become rationalized. And Weber was giving more and more importance to legal rational authority, that is bureaucracy. If you are commanding power and people think that it is fair, it is based on rule, that is part of legal rational authority. And how in the modern democracy, you will find more and more the role of legal rational democracy. This is the dominant form of authority in the modern states. And then his favorite aspect, that is studying the bureaucracy. Okay. So modern society requires the administration of enormous range. It is a very complex function. There is a large population. There is taxation, there is a welfare role, there is education, there is infrastructure, there is facilitation, so many roles. Now, that led to demand of something which is based on rules, regulation, and it is predictable, it is anonymous. That is bureaucracy. A system that can handle vast, impersonal complexity. It does not depend on any single individual's personal judgment or memory. It is not dependent on any individual's personal whims and fancy. And then he gave the ideal type of bureaucracy in which he gave 7 features. The first feature is hierarchy. So there is a clear chain of command. Constable, you will see the people above him. Like you will see SHOs, you will see ACP, DCP, and all. So there is a clear chain of command. Then there is clear division of offices. Each office has their own clearly defined role. Clerk will handle something. Okay, income tax officer will handle something. Superintendent will handle another thing. There are different offices. Then the rules are formal. Decisions are governed by abstract written rules rather than your personal emotions, your personal whims and fancies. Then impersonality. So the rules apply the same way to everyone. Whether you are a principal's own child or a completely new student, anyone. Then technical competence. So a recruitment is based on certain common qualifications. So if you want to become a civil servant, there is a common qualification. You need to be a graduate. Okay, that's a common qualification. You all are writing a standardized examination. Then career orientation. So this is the office becomes a full-time occupation. If there is a structure, there is a career progression, there is a promotion. It is not a temporary or a part-time role. These are the features given by Max Weber as ideal type of bureaucracy. Okay, so it provides precision. No, it can give you precise outcomes. It can give you predictable outcomes. It can give you continuity even when elections are happening. The bureaucrats are still working. There is a continuity. You can get expertise as well. No, you see political executive, you see permanent executive. Permanent executive have expertise as well. When even the individual office holders are changing, it doesn't stake any kind of continuity. That's other person who is coming will have same kind of qualification. Similar kinds of qualification rather. However, this is the ideal type. In the real-time scenario, Weber criticized bureaucracy. Rule, as I told you, rules can become, the bureaucrats can become excessively focused on just rules. And that can become rigid. And bureaucracy can become unresponsive to exceptional circumstances. There are 2 people. One is suffering from a lot of complexities and issues, right? Another one is from affluent background. You cannot treat both the people equally. You need compassion. Red tapeism, so excessive procedural delays, 20 years to make something, and still it is getting destroyed in 3 months, 3 weeks rather. Then you are using pedestrian fence, right? This is part of red tapeism. Rules originally designed as a means to an end can become ends in themselves. They are just bothered about and they are too much fearful about three C's. In the modern times, three C's are CBI, CAG, and CBC. Constant fear looming on them. Lack of discretion, precisely when we are dealing with exceptional circumstances. We are living in a fast changing, technologically driven world. AI is driving everything very, very fast. The world is moving at a very fast rate. Often we draw comparison with countries like China. They are developing at a very fast rate. And we are stuck. Why so? Precisely because a lot of blame should be given to the bureaucratic approach. A status quoistic orientation. They are resistant to change. One of the present serving minister, he said that when I asked a bureaucrat how things can be done, he was rather more focused about how things cannot be done. So the majority of the rules are negatively coded and their approach is negative. Alienation. So individuals within the system, both officials and citizens, can feel reduced to a mere cogs. Many times they feel identity crisis. I am doing all the works, but all the credits are taken by politicians. People are very much alienated with bureaucracy. They do not feel any kind of emotions. When they go, they are not able to even meet the person on time. Their service delivery is excessively delayed. Objections after objections. They feel alienated. You ask any common person how they feel when they go inside a government office. They feel that they might be cheated. They might not get the desired service on time. They are not feeling connected to that office. These were the criticism. And then he gave an iron cage of rationality. So this is the Weber's most famous and most frequently quoted thing. Rationalization increases efficiency, but can reduce individual freedom and meaning, emotions, passion. It can be reduced. And then there is a lot of criticism, like Robert K. Merton, means becoming an end. We will read about Merton and then we will read it in a greater detail. Alvin Goldner, he did a detailed fieldwork inside a gypsum mining plant, and Goldner identified that bureaucracies aren't monolithic. He distinguished mock bureaucracy, rules that exist on paper but aren't enforced by either side. You must have seen a kache mein bana do, bills and everything, fake invoices. And then there is representative bureaucracy, rules genuinely agreed upon and enforced by both management and workers. You see, in India, citizens are also breaking the rules. Bureaucrats are also breaking the rules. So here, it will be a kind of a mock bureaucracy. Rules are made to be broken. This is a very famous line in our nation. Rule to bane hai todne ke liye. Then Jürgen Habermas. So Habermas' contribution was to show that institutions may retain full legal authority while simultaneously losing public confidence and trust. There's a legitimation crisis and you are living in this world. If I tell you to go to police station and file a complaint, will you be comfortable going alone? 99% of people who do not have any kind of known people, they will be hesitant. That's the reality. They have the legitimate authority, but people are losing confidence and trust. And there is a constant tension between the bureaucracy and democracy. Bureaucracy is defined by expertise and continuity. Democracy by accountability and popular sovereignty, and there will be a constant tussle between both. How can technically powerful bureaucracy remain subordinate to democratically legitimate political authority? There are many ways to do that. Transfer posting is the most powerful tool that has been devised by the political authority. Certain posts are called as shunting, punishment posting. Certain posts are called as more powerful posts, and they are playing with it. And then a very important theory which was given by Max Weber, which again, let's study this in a comparative manner. We studied Karl Marx, right? And he was highly critical of religion. He told it simply, religion is opium of masses. This is what he said. It is opium of masses. And it has been enforced by capitalists, people who have all the capitals. They are enforcing upon us. But Max Weber has given a different theory, a very different theory from what Karl Marx had said. Okay. So he studied a pattern in which certain religion people rather, they were CEOs, CFOs, they were business owners at a much larger scale compared to other religion people. And then he went behind it. Like he first, there was a superficial understanding. Okay, so this particular religion has more number of people in, say, for example, as a CEO or a business owner. Now he will go deep into it. Why so? What is the reason a particular religion people are outshining others in this? Now, there is a famous saying in India, in Indian society and religion. Business is often equated with greed. Money making is often equated with greed and not so moral action. But there is a religion, Protestantism, Calvinism. They are of very different belief. They say, okay, you are near to God not because you are doing rituals, not because you are trying to move away from this world, but you are doing hard work in this world. You are accumulating wealth, and you are accumulating wealth not for consumption, but again, you are reusing it to invest. That will lead to collective exaltation. The more you are working hard, the more you are not investing, the more you are near to God. You are the person who is near to God. Now, this developed an ethic which the modern capitalists needed. Modern capitalists needed people who are not investing money on goods, like they are buying some particular good, but they're investing. Modern capitalism needed people who can work very, very hard. They have that ethics of working very hard. That will ensure larger amount of production. So the Calvinism, Protestantism had that spirit which was required by the capitalism to flourish. This is the main idea behind the Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. This is what you need to understand. Business spirit is not the same as greed. Okay? But mind you, Weber never said that religion is the only reason capitalism grew. Don't equate it with the only reason. One of the reasons. There were many other factors. There was a fair, predictable legal system. Availability of technology and science was another major cause that capitalism flourished. It's not saying that religion alone is the reason behind it. Workers could be freely hired and fired. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. Now, Weber is saying religion, or but rather an idea, can influence economic behavior. Marx said no, economic structure shapes ideas. Here they are. Now, on opposite angles, Marx gave more and more importance to material conditions. Weber said no, ideas, interests, and institutions also interact. He gave the historical materialism idea. He analyzed history based on the material progression. Weber said causal pluralism. One thing can happen because of multiple things. It's not economic determinism. Okay. Now there are, like any other theory, there will be criticism as well. So there is a person called as R.H. Downey. He said that capitalism grew in England for many practical economic reasons too, not just because of religious belief. Okay. The second criticism was by Werner Sombart. He said ideas and economic structures grow together and shape each other. It's not simply ideas came first and caused everything else. Marxist thinkers say that even religion itself needs to be explained by looking at class and money relationship. It cannot be treated as separate, independent cause floating on its own. The religion has been made by these. So how it is an independent idea? It is dependent on many other ideas. Then there is a person called as Andre Gunther Frank, A.G. Frank. He gave a dependency perspective. We will read it in detail in social change and the other chapters. So simply said that European wealth also grew hugely because of colonization process. India was treated as a country from where raw materials they were just exploiting. They were squeezing all the important things from here. Okay. So this is what you need to understand. And Weber explained why a disciplined business person works hard and sells. But he's not saying about where the actual customers and demand for all these products came from. That's very, very important. So Protestant work ethic idea by itself cannot fully explain how capitalism grew. This is the conclusion. Now Weber's theory of stratification. This is a theory which we'll read in much greater detail in the chapter of stratification, Unit 5. Just have a brief idea, just to draw a parallel again among Marx and Weber. Marx was very much about just economic condition. Are you owning the capital or not? So he was just focused on class. Now, as Weber was very much concerned about causal pluralism, so he gave more factors as well. Let's tell you a very good example. Bureaucrats, are they top on class hierarchy? No. They are not among top. They are in middle. They are not even among top. But now then talk about status. So how much respect and honor they get in feudalistic societies. So that he called as status. So in status hierarchy, bureaucrats will be higher. Then the third classification that he gave was party. So that is belonging to any organized groups that influences decisions, like political parties, or school students' council, or trade unions, or any organized interest group. So party is organized influence. If you're a member of any political party, then you have, now party is also deciding the stratification in the society. This is a very important classification, Trinitarian classification, usually taken forward by Andre Bate while studying Indian society. Trinitarian perspective. So class, status, party, all three decides the stratification, not just class. Again, giving a pluralistic perspective. Another important concept given by Max Weber was life chances. What is life chances? So life chances simply mean what real opportunity does a person actually have to get a good education, a good job, a good healthcare, a decent housing, and a chance to improve their life. So inequality is not just about the question who has more money. It is also about the question who actually has more real chances and doors open to them in life. Like caste stratification. Erstwhile untouchables, they did not have that opportunity. Their doors were closed. So it refers to the real practical opportunities and individual pauses to access the resources that will shape a genuinely good life. This is a concept of life chances. Okay, and then we studied about how in a modern capitalism, how things are becoming rationalized. This we studied earlier as well. And what Weber said about India? So Weber's ideas were taken up by Andre Bate specifically while he had to study about, now when he was studying about the modern spirit of capitalism, Protestantism, he ignored that there were some communities who had the same ethic, like the Chettinad communities and the Banya communities. They also have the same spirit, like the Protestantism. So he completely discarded Indian society to be something which is rigidly organized around caste and did not have that kind of a spirit. Okay. So this is what you need to understand. As I told you about the McDonaldization, this is the concept given by George Ridger. So he talked about, like I give you the example of McDonald's, and you go to any other, you go to Zara, you go to any particular store, you will get a predictable service. You'll get a calculated service. And we love that. We love that in the modern times. So a question in the present time can be, is the iron cage becoming an algorithm cage? Like a dictatorship of algorithm. So our entire life now starts from seeing the social media, what people have posted about us, how people are feeling about us, are people commenting on our photos or not, liking or not. So we are constantly, and even we are posting about our work life on LinkedIn and trying to have validation. Okay. And in the present time, if you see the platforms economy, gig workers, They are also combined by algorithm control. They are continuously under surveillance as well. Calculability, calculation, 10-minute service delivery, 15-minute service delivery. Okay. Like any other thinker, Weber was also criticized. His criticism was based on many factors. Okay. The first was subjectivity. The most obvious methodological vulnerability in Max Weber's study was Verstehen, by its very nature, is an interpretative method. It can introduce researcher bias. Different sociologists are interpreting a same social action may reconstruct different meanings. And how can that be fully objective? Then methodological individualism. So Weber's consistent focus on individual meaning and individual action may underplay the weight of larger structures and institutions, as argued by Marxists. And overemphasis on rationalizing. You see in the current society as well, we have traditionality as well present in the country. Okay, so he's discarding the effect of religion still. You see, there is a counter force. Okay, then he's again criticized to be Eurocentric. So he was analyzing, and the European society was discarding the things which were happening in India or China or other civilization. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. Weber's methods and processes inspired many scholars, as I told you about Andre Bate as well. But it inspired many scholars, and it inspired many scholars to challenge the positivist approach. Then the radical departure happened. He is the one who inspired them. If you see the phenomenologist, ethnomethodologist, postmodernist, feminist perspective, then the more radical departure will happen. But behind everything that happened in the future, there was one man called as Max Weber. I hope you understood all the concepts, all the things. And if you like these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, share these videos. We have put off the monetization button, and we are doing it purposely to have a change, to make a change in the world driven by just monetary benefits. I am trying to personally give hours to make these lectures, record these lectures, and post it for you. Just like on it, comment on it. This will go far. And this will motivate me further to make more videos, more lectures, put up more efforts. This is the only way I can understand that you are liking my lectures or not, and how much I should enhance, what I should cover, how I can better serve you. Thank you very much.